Hello everyone, in this video I will showcase my timeout team in Ultra League, which consists of Cresselia, Suicune and Blissey. This is a strategy that I've really tried to make work in several months, and after the change of Moonblast for Cresselia, the strategy has actually started working, since the meta is even more tanky than before. The win condition is to KO one of your opponent's Pokemon and then stay alive with your 3 until you time out. So my first opponent in this run is Vergiverg, and he leads with Giratina Origin form against my Cresselia, which is really bad, not just because it beats Cresselia, but also because it has high DPS, so we're less likely to reach the timeout. And on top of that, he also gets the boost of Ominous Wind. So now I have to shield everything and just debuff him as much as I can, so that he gets back to normal. So now after 2 Bubble Beams, his attack buff is gone, and he decides to switch out into Snorlax, and I will hit 1 Bubble Beam and then switch into Cresselia, because I don't want Cresselia to face off against his Giratina. And 1 debuff is enough, since his licks will do 2 damage instead of 3 after 1 debuff, and even if I debuff him more, they will still do 2 damage. So there's no point in going for Moonblast, which actually is my mistake here. I should have gone for Future Sight again. And this mistake will actually cost me the entire game. So I should really have gone for a second focus, or a second Future Sight instead. But now I have energy loaded on my Cresselia in the back, and he switches in Alolan Muk, so it's not entirely over yet. I just have to KO one of his Pokemon and then reach the timeout. And if you didn't know, the timeout is after 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And the best way to reach it is to have quick and spammy fast moves. Like Bubble Beam is perfect, because every charge move takes roughly 12 seconds to do. So what I do here is I go for the Hydro Pump, because it will KO, and if the game timed out in this instance, I would have won. But it's not over yet, it's 10 seconds of the game, and I know I have my Moonblast ready, and if this had not been a CMP, I would have won, but very well played by my opponent to recognize that he had to throw the charge move immediately. And my next opponent is TZ Spanx, and he leads with Cresselia against my Cresselia, so this will be really boring, and I will triple the speed instead of just doubling it, because both will go straight Moonblast. And my Cresselia is high attack, so I win all the CMPs, so I have a favorable lead. And not only that, but this is one of the best leads when you run timeout strategy, since it will waste so much time. And here in the 4th Moonblast, my opponent makes a nice switch into Escavalier, so I will jump to Suicune, and the Escavalier also got debuffed once, which is really good. So in this situation, I will just keep on debuffing him and wasting as much time as possible. And then hopefully, after I KO this Escavalier, I will just debuff whatever he sends in next, and then send in Blissey and stall out the entire game. So I keep on spamming Bubble Beams, and again, and now he switches in his Cresselia. So not entirely what I had hoped for. I wanted to farm him down with some more Snarls or 1 more Bubble Beam. But here I make a risky play and try to reach another Bubble Beam, and I managed to do so. So that was great. And now I switch in Blissey immediately, so that he has no time to KO Suicune. So even though I'm in a losing position if there was no timeout, since this Swampert just would beat down my Blissey and then one-shot my Cresselia, and just one mud shot to defeat my Suicune, I will just wait here and time out. And since I have 3 Pokemon alive and he only has 1, I win. And that's another thing worth mentioning when you play this strategy, that in the end of the game, when you have equal amounts of Pokemon left, the highest sum of the HP percentages is going to win. And now I face Squall with a Giratina Altered Lead, and he has Dragon Breath, so I will reach my Moonblast slightly before his Shadow Sneaks. And I will invest a shield here just to make sure that I win this lead matchup. And if you're going to shield, then you obviously should do it on the first one, because that's when they are the least likely to bait, and that is also the one that you know is not going to be debuffed. And now he has sent in his own Cresselia, which is really good for me, because now I can just waste a lot of time, and I also get the attack debuffs. So this is just an amazing situation. And I also got another one, so now I know that I survived this, and I can switch in Suicune. So now I have an amazing situation where I have 1 shield and an entire Suicune that can just waste so much time. And now I will go for the Hydro Pump, actually, because I need to get a KO. I could probably have gone for 2 more Bubble Beams, but then I would be in the risk of getting 1 more Dragon Claw against me. So instead, I made this play, and I can debuff this Registeel twice, which is really great, because then he will need 4 Focus Blasts instead of 3 to defeat my Blissey. So now I send him Blissey, and I know he's going to switch, so as soon as he switches, I stop hitting, and I will just let the time go out, because this Cresselia is never going to defeat Blissey, at least in less than like 80 seconds. So that was just an easy win in the end. So here is game number 4 against Leo, and he leads with Alolan Muk against my Cresselia. So I need to get out of there, because that is a terrible matchup. And I switch in Suicune and can start my debuffing shenanigans. And I shield the first one, because that is the charge move that will hurt the most. And he switches in Cresselia, which is absolutely amazing, because I will be able to debuff this thing into oblivion and then waste a lot of time. So I fire off 2 Bubble Beams on the Cresselia, and then charge up a lot of energy so that I have 2 Bubble Beams ready to just bring up at any point in the game. And then I switch in Cresselia, and he switches in his Muk again, but this time I'm ready with a lot of energy. And I also get the attack fell, so this is great. And I shield the first Dark Pulse, because I want to get another attack fell, but sadly the second did not. The second Moonblast did not debuff. So now I am in Dark Pulse range, so I need to get out of there. And I wanted to KO that Alolan Muk with Hydro Pump, but it wasn't enough. But at least I can debuff this Cresselia once. So I also wait out the timer for 10 seconds to get closer to timing out. And this is actually a really bad situation, because I will most likely have to defeat 2 of his Pokemon, and he has a third one that I haven't even seen yet. So my first plan here is to farm down the Cresselia all the way, and then Hyper Beam whatever comes in, and then switch into my own Cresselia. But now I see the game timer at the top, so I really need to KO this Cresselia as soon as possible. And then I switch into my own Cresselia, and luckily he has the Poliwrath in the back, and I just managed to reach the Future Sight. And since both of his were in the red and both of mine were in the yellow, I win the game. TBLG is the last opponent, and he leads with Giratina Altered Form with Dragon Breath. So once again I will reach my Moonblast before he reaches Shadow Sneak. So this is favorable for me. I will shield the first one, because it is not debuffed yet. And I fire off the second one, and actually he does not shield, so that's a weird play. And he sends in his Charizard, which farms a lot of energy, but that's okay, because now he switches out and I can start spamming my bubble beams. And Charmers are one of the worst things to face off against this team, because they rarely use charge moves, which means that they don't waste much time, and they also have high DPS with the charms. But now when it's debuffed, the Meteor Mash is doing absolutely nothing against my Suicune, and then I go for the Hydro Pump to KO him. So now I have 3 Pokemon alive against his single Charizard, so I just need to stall out as much as possible with Blissey, but Charizard is also one of these with great DPS, so yeah, that's one of the biggest weaknesses for the timeout team, all of the glass cannons. So I'm not able to survive long enough. But I still have 2 Pokemon and he has only got 1, so I wait out the timer here, and he is actually very low. And he's forced to shield this Moonblast, and then I switch into Suicune and just barely manage to reach a Bubble Beam with 1 HP left, and it's enough to KO. And that's actually pretty much the only game I have ever won without going to timeout with the timeout team. So thanks for watching.